We're so happy to have you join us for this showcase. Before we start the interview, I'd love to get a glimpse on your career so far. What have been some of the highs and some of the lows of your journey?
A quick recap of my career. I am a computer science graduated in 97. I started my professional career like any other graduated at the time as a computer developer. I was a C developer with one of the central government organizations. And I was working on a software to automate the shipyard operations. That was for a period of 3 years. Then I had a 6 months of a break where I upgraded, upskilled, and I learned Java at the time. This I'm talking about 2000, the year 2000. Java was one of the latest technologies of the time. And then I joined a bank in the treasury operations. They were looking to change their treasury software of Citibank from an older version to the latest technology, namely Java, and wanted that particular software to be accessible 24/7, which was a very in thing at that time, right? After a year and a half, I had to shift to Bangalore because my husband shifted a year back, and for a year we had our ups and downs, and then I thought it was time to shift to Bangalore. That was when I quit that. And I took a break to do for the studies. I did my MBA in finance and also did certain certifications in capital markets. The reason I stuck to finance was that I worked in a bank, though, for the short stint of 1.5 years. My knowledge of that particular industry vertical, I felt was a little low. So before getting back to job, I thought, let me just build the domain knowledge before I, start thinking. But while I was doing that, and we were in Bangalore, we thought, why not pursue my dream of a full-time PG? By that time, I already had a 3-year-old daughter, but they didn't stop me from juggling my MBA with the CAT preparations and applying to colleges. And I got into all the 6 IIMs at the time, and I scored well in CAT. I scored 760 in GMAT, and I went back to full-time education for 2 years. And post my MBA, also, I joined Yes Bank, which was one of the green banks. And it was a very young bank at the time. I graduated in 2008. So I joined their corporate banking, and I was handling the FMCG and retail vertical for the South. So that's the third industry vertical. And I quit to join my husband, who started a SaaS company. And SaaS was very new in India. And both of us come from a tech background. So we thought, there were opportunities at the time. So that was 2009, a very first startup together. Or there were many more to come. But that was the first where, apart from my husband, the rest of the team was all-women team, fully remote, working from all over the country. The simple reason being, we just wanted to bootstrap it initially and not spend anything on the office, recruitment and all. So all the women that we hired came through referrals of families, friends, women who had taken a career break and wanted to get back either for maternity, or women who relocated to China, Dubai, and other countries and couldn't find a job immediately. So they were an initial employees. But after 3.5 years, we realized the tribe just grew. We realized that, they're more productive, more cost effective, more ROI for the company, and we didn't need to set up an office. We had to do very little to keep them motivated. That just give them the flexibility of timings that they needed. So it worked very well till I joined Livestream as their first COO in 2011. Livestream was a young company into online media, live video. So that's a fourth industry vertical that I had to learn regarding media, social media. For me, social media was all about just Facebook and, a couple of tweets here and there. That's about it. Insta was just about starting in India. It didn't take off yet. But we all knew YouTube. That's all. But I learned the ropes of live media. I was with Livestream. I started their sales of Asia. I was working closely with their sales and live productions team, where you had all the cameramen, the audio technicians, and everything. So I got to know the ropes of, how live recordings on stage, or streaming mega events worked. Livestream got acquired by Vimeo in 2017. And I continued as their VP operations. Now I take care of their India and APAC offices, which are Australia and Singapore office operations. So, and during this journey on the way, I'm also involved with ARA, which is an EdTech. An investor, and I'm on the board of members. That is from 2018 onwards. So that's my journey so far. Quite a few highs, quite a few milestones. I've been through the journey of certain startups right from inception to where, Vimeo got listed on NASDAQ in 2021. So I have seen the whole journey. I would say that the journey itself was a high because you could see the whole life cycle of a company's growth. The lows were mostly on, the lows were not in my gaps. The lows were when I was in the middle of, let's say, on campus, when I was trying to full time get back to, changing from one vertical to the other. So I would say my low points were there. That is where I hit the maximum hurdles, where I had to, really pull myself up to move forward.
Wow, that's quite the journey to have had. And that's what, 4 industries at least? Um,
Yeah, maybe more than that. You're saying, yeah.
yeah. So, given that you've worked in a lot of diverse industries, how did you manage that transition from one industry to the other? And were there any hurdles that you had to overcome? How did you adapt?
So the first thing I had to learn was to unlearn what I've learned in the earlier industry, right? So a lot of us feel that, my experience, I bring on this experience. So we're kind of used to bringing that experience. But I learned that, not every experience matters, number one. Everything you should approach it with, like a clean slate, like a child. So if you're curious about how things work, what is it? I think you start learning all over again. There are certain things that you have takeaways, but which should be industry agnostic. For example, from my first job, there are so many things that, from the professional, as a fresher right out of college, I learned about the professional life, and that it was a central government company at the time, right? The government organizations work totally differently. They had a very relaxed kind of a work environment. And then when I moved to Citibank, you had total high pressure job. So I had to learn how a corporate literally worked, and a private limited firm where you had deadlines, strict in and out timings, where you had meetings for everything. All this worked. So what I took away from my first 3.5 years was possibly only my technology skill set. But then I had to learn the ropes of rest of it again. And then banking the domain knowledge was totally different. So after one or two hurdles, what I learned was my learning curve was faster if I tend to, keep my mind open, and I unlearn a little bit of what I've, what baggage I'm bringing. So essentially, leave your baggage behind. It's the same thing. Even when you come back home, you leave your designation and your title outside the door, and you're just a mom or a wife or a sister or a daughter. Right. Similarly, I think it comes probably comes more naturally to women once you set your mind to it. That similarly, just leave your previous designation and your colleagues and your learnings behind, and then you're more open to learn. Number one. Number two is that don't be afraid to ask questions. uh, Initially everybody is supportive. They all know that during your onboarding, everybody knows you're new, so make the most of it. Ask questions, learn from anyone and everyone. Don't think you just have to ask your manager or the HR. Go to your peers, go to your juniors in titles, but they are seniors in the organization. They have been here before you. They can give you very, very helpful tips. Believe me, the water cooler conversations with your juniors is far more insightful than with your manager. So they give you all the insight of, managing the system, managing the HRs. How do you apply for a leave, or, how do you smooth talk to some things and all. So they know the ropes. So talk to everyone and as much as you can. That is when you start learning. And the industry knowledge and the domain knowledge, you've got ample resources to do that. But that will be the least of the works, because once you connect with your colleagues at work, the rest of the things fall in place.
And that's so true. I think what you said really stuck out to me, that they might be your juniors in title, but they're seniors within the company. And
Yeah.
that holds so true. And it's such a valuable and like nice way to look at it. Given that you've worked in a lot of demanding leadership roles, how do you stay motivated to continue, of course, working and also pursue continuous learning?
See, I wouldn't agree that just the leadership roles are demanding. Every role is demanding at its own level. That everybody feels that. So if you are like, even if you are a software developer, you might have a demanding deadlines, delivery deadlines to meet. So everyone has got that, a tight schedule. But then it's I think it's in our hands to prioritize, set clear goals. But because if you stop learning, then you will stop growing even in your current role. So you have to stay updated on the current industry trends, you have to broaden your knowledge base, you have to improve your specific skills that are required by this particular role or in this particular company that you're in, so that you have the direction towards your career goals, right? That is one. The other one is that you should embrace a growth mindset, meaning that any setback you see, any challenge that come across, you should be open saying that, okay, I have got this obstacle. Now, how do I overcome it? What opportunities? Who can help me? Or how can I help myself? Right. And once done, you also have to be mindful that, in this journey, okay, what have I learned from that particular hurdle? And what knowledge or a skill set did I pick up from there? That is one. The other thing where most of the women falter is allocating time for learning. Um, and again, let me correct myself. It's not limited to women. It's also, everybody does that. Once you get into that rut of day to day, you don't tend to allocate time for self-learning. This me time that we call, right? We spend me time on, having a cup of tea for 10 minutes, or taking, reading a good book, or probably just going to a spa. Exactly the same me time for half an hour, if you are able to allocate, even if it's half an hour for a week, for learning, right? What, just by reading articles or anything which is totally different to what you're doing, or even if it is connected, or taking a short online. These days online courses are self-paced, right? Half an hour in a week, I'm sure it's manageable. Slowly you can extend it. So carve out that time each day or week, whatever you can manage, for your personal development more than professional development. Your personal development is the one which leads your professional development, right? And that learning also, what you're doing, some people feel that the learning has to be connected to what you're doing. You're not, I didn't perceive it that way, because I moved across industries. What I'm learning today might not be helpful in the next job. I might have to unlearn everything, right? So I learned for myself, I didn't learn for the job. So your knowledge or skills ensure that you have an overarching goal, not like next 6 months, next 1 year, my next promotion. That is a wrong goalpost. And then you have to see, for that you really have to be inspired by somebody, if you are idolizing someone, or self motivation, if there are some people who prefer self motivation, which is also fine. And then celebrate the small success, small progress, right? Like for example, during COVID, a lot of us were like, initially we had a lot of time in hands. The companies were more understanding. They set aside a lot of budgets for professional development, because now we couldn't have that connect, right? So that was the time when I made the most of learning. For example, after, by the time I already had around 18, 19 years of experience when the pandemic struck. So I thought, okay, why not use this time to learn something which is new upcoming? So I enrolled myself in courses of blockchain, AI, Go programming, something you cannot imagine as somebody of operations taking through, right? So I actually did that during those 2 years. So I learned about Ethereum, Hyperledger, there's the ropes of blockchain. Now I'm confident about of actually coding. So I went back to the roots of coding, which is like totally irrelevant to what I'm doing, right? I'm looking after HR, accounts, finance meetings, and all this stuff. But now here I am going back 15 years, and learning what I was, how I was learning in 97. So that's what I did during that. And then that, and that took me 2 years to complete those self-paced courses and everything that is set for myself. But I celebrated this progress at each point, the milestones, right? And I stayed curious throughout that learning journey. So otherwise I would not be able to, the back of my mind, how would it be useful? I don't know. Maybe my next company would be that I'm working for would be something to do with these technologies. I don't know. I was simply curious about, something new that was coming up. I wanted to know what goes on. So I did that totally different from what I was working on during my, professional time. So that is one. The other thing is that you reflect on the learning and then your personal growth at each point. You have to keep track. It's like a student, right? How far, what progress did you make? If not, it'll be random. One day you pick up one course, one day you pick up one course at the end of 1 year, right? You might have done half a dozen courses, but you don't know what you have learned. So you'll also have to step back and continuously at some points reflect on what you have learned. Are you in the right direction? Is it, are you just getting to know little bits and pieces, or are you actually learning something meaningful? So you have to have those checkpoints, and then learning is not like, a separate schedule or something. It should be part of your routine, basically. Just like, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you make up, you start your Zoom meeting, you have a day's routine. It should be part of your routine. As simple as that.
That's honestly so inspiring to hear as someone that's maybe, in the start of my career. Set aside 30 minutes a week. That's so doable. It makes it so easy to look at and it doesn't seem daunting anymore. Um,
Yeah.
so given that you have been, continuously learning something new, always trying something new, always staying curious, I'd love to know what are some of your go-to resources when you're looking to learn something new, given that there's so much out there in the market now.
So it all depends on what you're actually learning. So what I intend to learn, for example, in the case of a blockchain, I didn't to go outside. Everything is online. So you either take online courses. First of all, I had to make a plan. So first, what I do is typically when I want to learn, I I jot down what all I want to learn in that area. So do I just want to get to know what it is, or do I want to take it ahead? So I need to know to what extent I want to learn that, right? So when I'm talking about blockchain, I thought, okay, let me see. First of all, let me begin with how is it useful for companies, how it is used in certain businesses. So I began with a course which is very much doable at my level, very easy understanding for me. And once that is complete, I thought that, my curiosity got the fuel that it needed. So then I said, okay, let me now look at technologies. And then I took it step by step. I made a plan of, okay, what all technologies? I cannot be covering the full track. I know myself. So I am aware of my limitations because I am not, it's been ages since I actually got my hands on a certain, on development. I did that at the beginning of my career. So I don't want to set an overarching goal, which I find daunting and then I leave it in the middle, right? So I wanted to set goalposts which are easily achievable for me. So that plan is is important. It's like your, um, I don't know whether you did it, but then as kids, some of us, when the annual exams are coming, we used to make a plan. Okay, this is the syllabus I have to cover. Let's do this. Whether we stick to it or not, it's totally a different thing, but you actually plan and schedule it, right? That schedule is to sit aside and we used to do our own thing. Different. But then that planning is the one that used to be the starting point, right? But that's how it is. It's a starting point. That's what you should be doing, right? Plan what you want to learn, and then you search for the resources based on that. But if it's a skill set, let's say, totally different, like if I want to, I don't know, if I want to learn skating or, something, a skill like swimming, which is not online, right? Then you have to put your efforts in finding a tutor or somebody who can come to your apartment or places where you can go. So it all depends on what you want to learn. But then the only thing that I would say that, break down the full goal into smaller goals which are achievable, so that you have enough motivation, because you can see the progress happening, you get the motivation. Otherwise you will drop it in the middle. The final goal, if you just keep your eye on the final goal post, right, in the middle somewhere you're caught up with some office, you're busy at office, kid is sick, this or that, and you're off the track. So the small achievable goals, and for each goal you have to find out what you need to do. It could be an online resource, it could be attending a workshop or a conference, or yeah, hiring a tutor to help you through, or just reaching out to somebody to at certain stages. It all depends on what stages you have set for yourself. And once you have crossed a certain milestone, you're like patting on your back. Oh, I've done this. Okay, one more step, right? So that's how it goes.
That's so true. I think somewhere we forget that you don't have to learn from one thing. You can use different formats, whatever works for you, whatever works for the skill that you're looking at. And I think one thing that I want to go back to, which you mentioned, or that I realized, is there is a lot of benefits, of course, with you learning for yourself. But of course, looking at it from a company side of view, there must be a lot of benefits for them as well. Um, so I want to know, in your view, what can companies do to foster a culture of learning and innovation? And what role does leadership play here?
See, if you look at the top companies who are mostly R&D based, right, we can learn a lot from them. Not every company is research based. So the learning and environment that they create might be in a smaller scale than that of, let's say, Google or Amazon, where you a lot of, or Apple, where there are a lot of R&D happening. But for every company, the first step is to create that environment, have a psychological safety where employees feel that, okay, if I'm setting aside an hour from my work, to learn, there won't be any negative consequences. Like my manager won't come back and say that, hey, what are you doing? You're supposed to be working on this, right? So you have to have that environment where employees feel it is okay if I am spending a little time in learning for myself, right? And then you have to be inclusive of all these diverse perspectives, and then ensure that all those who are vulnerable also feel safe in such an environment. So both, not only the top leaders, right from the lower rank, all managers should be open when their employees say that, hey, I want to upskill. For my next promotion, these are the skill gaps that I have, and I need I need some time to spend. Because most companies, especially, they feel that if you're giving them time to learn, they should be learning something which is related to the job that they are doing. Fair enough. But even that is also not provided by some companies. So first of all, to create that environment is more important. And then the second, we have to provide them resources and support, encourage employees to learn. This could include offering certain training programs or access to, the companies can subscribe to educational materials, resources, courses for the employees, or have opportunities for workshops or conferences. So the leader should also prioritize by being role model themselves, right? If your manager is not subscribing to any of these, let's say you have all the resources in the company and your manager is not doing it, and he or she is just spending time on the day-to-day work, and you feel hesitant to go to them and say, hey, I need time off from work to attend, for this 2 days workshop. Or you see that all the leaders are busy all the time just working for the company, they are not doing it. Know what kind of a role models they are for the employees, right? So I should say, from the leaders to managers, they themselves should invest in themselves. We send out some message to the employees that it is okay to upskill, to learn, right? So that encouragement is not just by creating a policy. You have to follow it and show that, see, I am doing it. So, and then encourage the team to, you can do it too. So that's how you empower employees. It's the same thing, right? When you have, it's like your mental health leave, or you have a self-care leave or a sick leave. Your manager doesn't take time off. Your manager doesn't take sick when the kids are sick, or a spouse or your partner is sick. Your manager is hesitant to say that, okay, I'm having too much of a stress, I need a day off for mental health. If they don't do that, the team doesn't get the confidence to apply. You might have all the policies in the world, but on paper, useless, right? So it should be incorporated in the culture of the company to promote this, and tell the employees that it's okay. We have the policy, but it is okay practically, right? And the leaders should actively celebrate the milestones that the employees have achieved. Somebody has done and did something great, or they have completed a course, or did part-time MTech or something of that sort. Celebrate, send out a message, congratulate them, right? You're sending out positive messages and you're encouraging others to do the same. That is how you're fostering a culture of learning. And then again, cross-functional team. At Vimeo, we we are an internal hiring first, meaning that if there is a job position open, we open it in the first 2 weeks for internal employees. Anybody across any teams can apply. Like, a customer support agent who's taking customer calls can apply to the position of a Java developer, because he or she would have done a Java development course in their, weekends they've attended or something. Totally, it is fine. They do not question that, hey, for the last 3 years, you have been just handling calls. You only know, probably, Zendesk and this and that. What would you do in Java? No questions asked. They get prioritized in the interviews, they clear it, that's done. So they just move across verticals, across teams, and across levels if necessary, and then their salaries are according to that. They are not based on, okay, you're here and that developers are paid there, but because you're starting low, let me exploit you. No. So it's like that, right? So cross-disciplinary teams or cross-functional teams, they're encouraged. So anyone can apply. So I'm not saying that every company should do that, but at least, encourage people to learn across functional teams. So it's not necessary that because you are in a certain team, you cannot learn what that is. Like, for example, people might say, oh, I'm just a developer, let me just do my part and then leave it. Or I'm just sales, let me do this part. But if they're really interested, genuinely interested, I want to know how this works. I want to know how production, video production, live production happens. I want to know how we cover large events like Oscars, red carpets. I want to go help and find out, right? So everyone is encouraged to do that and allowed to do that. So that is creating that culture of learning and experimentation. And there shouldn't be any fear of failure. Like, the manager shouldn't come 6 months down the line in your review meeting and say, see, if you only had spent more time working, you would have got a promotion instead of learning stupid stuff. Right? That is the wrong message to send. You've learned. Your knowledge doesn't go waste. Just that, probably not useful to your current job. It's fine. So there should not be any repercussions of spending time on learning. That is where you're creating that open culture. And then, as I said, right, this will only, the promotion and all this on paper looks good, but it will only be a reality if the leaders lead by examples, but they themselves put in time with on themselves, go to, leadership offsites or workshops and say that, see, I am setting aside 2-3 days in a year to step back and learn, unlearn, do myself, and I encourage you all to do that. That will send out the actual message. And that is how you create an environment where employees are empowered to unleash their creative potential, their learning potential, and that is when they actually contribute to the organization's success.
Yeah, and I think someone that's happy with the opportunities that their company is providing them is at the end of the day a happier employee, which will stay in the company longer if they like the culture.
That's true. So if you do not give that opportunity, they will just apply for a Java developer job elsewhere. So you're losing a long-standing employee. Instead, you just allow them to shift, and then you're keeping them here for longer. So they have spent here, and then if you allow them to shift for that, if they're growing in that, you would have got an employee without, you're spending lesser time on actually shortlisting and interviewing external candidates, worrying whether they fit into the culture or not. Here you have a tried and tested, this employee in and out, how their behavior, their performance has been for the last 2-3 years. So you have kind of a relationship already built in.
So true. So stepping away a little bit and focusing on continuous learning. Knowing that companies are supportive, we do know that sometimes companies are not supportive with continuous learning, and the pressure does get a lot. So, in a situation like this, how can someone pursue learning or continuous learning if their current organization is not supportive?
So here's how I look at it. If current organization is not supportive of not learning anything in your life, for example, you need some time off, or you need to take care of a toddler, or you have, in-laws, or you have somebody to take care of at life, what would you do? You take ownership of your life. You say that, okay, I need a sabbatical now, or there is a time that you make, you have a decisive uh, decision to make, right? So let's say in the same case of learning, it should be self-directed. Take ownership of your learning journey. Seek out resources and opportunities for self-learning. This could involve as simple as reading a book. Your company cannot ban that in your free time, right? You can read a book. You can watch online tutorials. You can listen to podcasts or watch YouTube. You can take small courses on platform like Coursera and Udemy. Which company is going to stop you? As simple as LinkedIn Learning, just read through blog posts, right? So this is self-directed learning. This you can still during your weekends, right? Saturday and Sunday, even if you're keeping aside half an hour, you say that this half an hour I'm dedicating it to this. So if you Coursera and Udemy, there are a lot of courses, they don't have deadline. They're accessible once you pay. You do it at your self pace. So I would say that take control of your learning journey first and foremost. Next is that join professional networks. Like you have HerKey, there are and communities. Both this is online, but if you can do it offline, very good. Participate in communities, participate in industry forums, attend conferences, attend with like-minded individuals, share your interests. Learn how others are passionate about what they do. These networks provide valuable insights and resources. Like you see in HerKey WhatsApp, right? You just drop in a question. There are a lot of people replying. So this is the community that you fall back on. Mentorship is something that you can, people think that it's only within companies, but you can seek mentors and advisors outside who can provide guidance, advice. Like you have this circles, the concept of circles, right? Look for individuals who are experts in their areas. You might want to connect to them directly or through LinkedIn, or you might have met them over the conference. Keep those relationships alive, and then, see if they're willing to share their knowledge and expertise with you. Volunteer for projects. Look for opportunities within your organization, if possible, for assignments that allow you to develop new skills or gain experience in, the areas of your interest. But if your current role doesn't directly support your learning goals, then volunteer for certain relevant projects, even if it is like pro bono. Don't worry, don't take money, because then again it might clash with your employment. This one, so don't worry about the financial aspect. Just look at it as a valuable learning opportunity. And I would say I'm going back to that, create a personal development plan. That is more important. Plan your learning. Don't let it be ad hoc and, random, because you tend to go tangential otherwise. So note down your learning goals, and then keep a check on them. Note down small actionable steps and achieve them, and celebrate your achievements. Keep them time bound and relevant. If you're saying half an hour a week, then half an hour a week it is. Then you say, by this end of this month, I would have finished this one video, something like that, right? So those will be the smart goals to keep yourself accountable and motivated. But slowly build that learning routine as part of your life, correct? And then always seek feedback and support from whoever can give you. You solicit feedback, typically from mentors, but it's okay even if it's from peers or trusted colleagues, or anyone within or outside your organization who can provide constructive feedback and encouragement. It could even be your spouse, partner, or your parents, whoever in the house, right? That will keep you motivated. And then explore opportunities out of your comfort zone, out of your organization, that align with your learning goals. Because if you're saying your current organization is not allowing you to learn, that itself is like a first red flag. So you might not be able to move immediately, but you have to really think, do I want to be doing this boxed for next 10 years? Maybe not. If not, then I think you'll have to, you not along with your learning goals, you should also be building your career goals. This could involve freelancing, consulting, volunteering, doing, picking up projects outside, or even pursuing a new job or career path that will better support your learning goals, right? Ultimately, it is beneficial to have support from your organization. Individuals can still take steps to, speak to their managers, leaders, to see if the professional development is encouraged by leveraging, various resources that the organization provides. But if it is not, then you have to ask yourself, are you in the right role, right place, right organization?
Outside of work and career expertise, what have been some of the benefits of being a lifelong learner for you?
Oh, that's a long list, actually. But first and foremost, I can think of is that, personal growth. Just by expanding one's knowledge, skills, and your perspectives, you evolve as an individual. And you tend to challenge yourself, you tend to realize your full potential. Because it is like this. When you were, just to take an analogy, right, back in school, why do we have extracurriculars? Why does the school allow us to have extracurriculars or hobbies and all? They say that when you mix academics with something different, right, you're stimulating your brain cells such that, you tend to soak in more. You're evolving, your personality is built. That, I don't know, somehow you stop after school. It shouldn't. It's the same analogy here, right? Your work is now your academic. The rest of it is your extracurricular. It should go on parallelly. That is when you keep yourself, your brain, you keep yourself mentally active. And then who knows, you might need a plan B in these days, right? So there are so many layoffs, there are so many things that are happening. What if you cannot get a same job? You cannot go back to the same industry. The industry is going through a difficulty. You have 3, 4 other skills to fall back on, at least temporarily. I'm not saying that it's just because of the job environment. Don't look at everything as, in the job perspective, but it helps. to have an overall, and coming from a big school background, right? That is the reason why I think a lot of top schools look at the overall personality of an individual rather than just your academics, how much you scored in 10th, 12th, and then the entrance. And but then they actually go through the essays, what hobbies, what social service you have done, or what you have learned, music, this, that, right? So that it so your personal growth, first and foremost, that is more important, because it fosters your for one, your mental growth, and also it helps you evolve as a human. The other one is that it improves your critical thinking. I have realized that across industries, I bring in a new perspective because I have worked in 3, 4 different industries. It's not necessarily that, totally different kind of companies that I've worked for in each of the industries. The way they work, the work environment is totally different. But that is how you bring a different perspective to the table, right? And it allows me to analyze that information in a different way. And when everybody has to make decisions, but then if you're just boxed by your thinking, then you tend to make the same decision like anybody else in your company, and you're bringing in a new perspective to the table. It's like what you call out of box thinking, design thinking, this, that. You don't give it names, I'm just saying, but diverse learning experiences itself, you're doing good, and you're enhancing your creativity, you're enhancing your critical thinking just by learning diverse things, right? The other thing is that your communication skills, like you listen better, that is when you learn better. You tend to articulate better because you're bringing in a new perspective, and you empathize better because you yourself would have understood the kind of hurdles that somebody faces when they're learning. When you have a new junior joining your team, right? Even if they are from the same industry, you would have struggled a lot to cross learn, and you are ready, you are willing to help them and support them because you kind of understand what they go through. And that's how you build relationship and navigate your, social context. And then with the new knowledge, you're more confident. It boosts your self confidence, and believe me, it does, because a lot of women, we tend to be a little uh, I would say, under marketing ourselves in most of the cases. But that is also that lack of confidence, in the sense that can I not do this, or a lack of self esteem in most cases. But you acquire new knowledge, and you're speaking through that knowledge, you're more confident, because you're empowered to take on challenges. You can say that I did that. That is totally different. That was new for me, but I could do that. So why can I not take this new challenge and opportunity in the organization? It is all related to the work that I'm doing, right? So if I'm able to learn, let's say, totally in my case, if I'm able to learn something as diverse as blockchain I have nothing to do with, why can I not take an additional responsibility of another office of managing? It's okay. That's like, this seems to be a less smaller problem than what I've done before, right? So it's like that. So it gives you that confidence to take on challenges. And then what you learn by doing this is you learn to adapt. You're better equipped to adapt to change, and then you're better equipped to navigate that change. Working across industries, I was more comfortable when the acquisition and the merger happened with Livestream to Vimeo, because I was like, it is like, it's just, for me, I have moved across industries, across companies. What is this? I'm just sitting in the same chair. The name changed, it's okay, totally doable, right? So that confidence comes from from what you have adapted earlier. So that growth mindset also, inherently develops in you. And then you have the right word I'm searching for is probably, building your legacy. Like the individuals who have an opportunity to learn diverse things, they leave, I believe, a more lasting legacy by sharing their knowledge and expertise and mentoring and coaching others. Uh, or even writing blogs online. If you're not mentoring, coaching at your work space, I've seen a lot of people who write blogs or on LinkedIn articles, and they're inspiring others, and they're making a meaningful impact to the lives of others. So it's an overall, learning enhances both personal and professional fulfillment, but more than that, it helps your own ongoing growth and development.
Of course, I fully agree with everything you've said so far. And I mean, kind of coming to the end of this interview, I'd want to ask you, looking back on your career journey, what advice would you offer to your younger self or to your peers?
Um, these are two questions. I would say the younger self, and then probably the advice I give to my peers might be slightly different. To my younger self, I would have said, initially, I would say that I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
Right? When you're young, that's what happens. You're all on for an adventure. So I didn't prepare well, just jumped right into it, right? Maybe to my younger self, my advice would have been before starting anything, uh, plan and prepare and organize your, time and life well before you start something new. Uh, but then it worked out. Because of my unpreparedness, initially I had to overcome maybe a couple of more hurdles than, knowingly if I were to get into something. And to my peers or, my leaders, managers who are already there in the organization, my advice would be, don't be afraid to try something out. Um, it's like this one of the advices that I got from one of my bosses who was the CEO. He said, I'm okay if you make mistakes. It's fine. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just don't make $1 million mistakes, right? So assess the risk when you're trying to get into something. Okay, what is the upside? Oh, I get to learn this. I'll become this. What is the downside? If I fail, okay, I would have wasted time, effort, money to what extent, or am I impacting the company to what extent, right? If it is to something manageable, then don't be afraid to take that. So get into it knowingly, number one. Do set aside time for yourself. That me time that everybody, the ladies called, right? The me time means different for different people. I know that you really need me time to get away from the stress, but then please ensure that the me time is also for learning. It is just not to put aside the stress, but it is also stress yourself enough, pressurize yourself enough to learn something new.
Thank you. And I think it reminds me of that one saying, right? That growth is outside your comfort zone. So even if you're taking time for yourself, make sure that part of it is for learning. And I think I'm going to start doing that this week itself. Thank you so much, Uma, for this fantastic interview. I know I've taken a couple of notes for myself. I'm implementing some changes within my schedule myself. And I'm sure that the viewers that are seeing this will also be doing the exact same thing. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much,
much, Uma.
Anushree. Thank you so much for having me. I hope I have been able to motivate at least a few of the women out there who keep saying that, I have no time for this, I have no time for that. I keep saying, half an hour, chai in your hand, if you have a book in your hand, that itself is like your first step in the learning.
Absolutely, Uma. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.